Hello and welcome to In Focus. In this episode, I sat down to chat with Lucy Dillon, the manager of Child Vision's Equine Centre. Recorded in September of last year, we discussed equine-assisted activities, the opening of the new Jack de Bromhead National Equine Centre, and the benefits that the opening of this centre will bring to the children in our community for years to come. Morning, Lucy. Thank you for joining us today. Today we're going to be talking about equine-assisted activities in Child Vision. Tell me, what are equine-assisted activities and why do we do them?
Equine-assisted activities are all the services we offer down in the equine unit. So then be that therapeutic riding, which is when you're actually on the horse, or just being around the horse, handling the horses, learning about how to look after them. And we do them because they have a huge therapeutic value, have an effect on the body, both physically, neurologically and emotionally.
And how did it become part of our service and where did it originate? I don't think that equine-assisted activities are a thing in every service.
So the equine unit opened here many, many years ago, long before I worked here. And they originally invited a chap called Rupert Isaacson, who is the founder of the Horseboy method, to come over and talk to the staff and give some training to the staff. And actually, coincidentally, I lent my horse to that at that time, even though I had no connection to Child Vision at the time.
That was the first step.
Yeah, one of the staff here, I had done their training and they needed a dressage horse, so they borrowed my horse for that. So I always kind of knew Child Vision had an equine unit. And then later on, the OT department here got involved in using the horses for children in the preschool and the primary school. And it kind of just grew from there. And then it was working partly as a riding school, partly as doing therapeutic services. And then since 2020, it's been a purely therapeutic service.
Okay. And what is the Horseboy method? How does it work?
So the Horseboy method is a way of using the movement of the horse and the effect it has on your body neurologically to calm the sensory system, calm the cortisol response in a body, flood the body with oxytocin, which makes you open to learning and regulates your emotions.
Okay, I could definitely see how that would have a positive effect on the people who come here. We have different profiles in Child Vision, so we'll have children who have intellectual disability, we'll have people who are neurodivergent, and we have a lot of sensory disability. So I can imagine that is something that would lend itself well to this type of approach.
Very much so. Any type of disability gives you generally a sensory processing issue. And so there's sort of two effects happen on the horse. One is that neurological effect, that it calms down the fight or flight response in the body, which then enables you to think clearly and start to work on other things such as communication or social skills, etc., depending on where a child or adult is at. The other thing that happens is it gives your body a huge amount of proprioceptive input, which is one of your senses. And proprioception is your awareness of your body in space.
Yes.
And again, if you have a sensory processing issue, which a visual impairment is the biggest sensory processing issue you could have, your proprioception can be off. And the beautiful thing about proprioception is proprioception, if you're sort of hyperactive, proprioception calms you down. And if you're low arousal, proprioception brings you up.
Okay, so it's a regulator.
It's a complete regulator. And when you're on a horse, you get proprioceptive input through every joint and muscle in your body.
Okay.
So when you sit on a horse, every joint and muscle in your body is being moved.
That's amazing. I think sometimes people would hear what we do and they say, oh, being up on a horse at a height, if you're blind or vision impaired, you can't see what's going on around you. If you're younger, you might not have a great grasp of the situation or what's going on. They can imagine that it's fearful. But from what you say, it seems that the body actually gets more information from the horse as to what is going on in the environment. That must be a really interesting experience for someone as well.
It is lovely. And another thing, particularly for the children with visual impairment, is to move that fast.
Yes, true.
It's lovely.
Very true.
And it's a whole different view on the world when you get up on a horse. Sometimes with some of the smaller children, we'll ride with the children.
Yes.
So then we can offer them a lot of support, both physically and also give them a lot more proprioception by deep pressure and hugging them, and also allow children who perhaps would never get onto a horse get on a horse. A child, say, perhaps who is unable to have sitting balance independently. It is. It's a really, really good therapeutic service.
And what is the setup like on the horse? Is it a traditional saddle and rein setup, or are there different parts or types of equipment that you would use with the person depending upon their needs?
The equipment, we tend to use a roller.
Okay.
Which is like, it's essentially like riding the horse bareback, but you've got two great handles to hold on to keep your balance. and a nice padding underneath you. If we are doing faster work, which is some of the more horseboy method approach, we would use a Western saddle.
Okay.
And the Western saddle we have is like a double-size Western saddle, so that we can ride with a child sat in front of us. And so if we were doing any canter work or faster work, we would use the Western saddle.
Amazing. That's really interesting. And then, so what age group would you have for these types of therapies? I mean, I see a lot of younger people going down, but I've also had some experience of accompanying people who are in our adult day service.
The service is open to anybody
Okay.
over the age of 2.
Which is young. I mean, when you think about a 3-year-old on a horse, like, that's really early intervention.
It is, yeah. And so the service is open to everybody. We do mainly see children because we are Child Vision.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's in the name.
And we see external clients as well. And these could be referrals either through school groups or individual referrals through parents and community groups as well. And the majority of those would be children with autism.
Okay.
Autistic children, and maybe adult services, ranging in all ages.
And in terms of making a referral, how is it that people know that we have a service here that can be availed of? How is it that we let people know what we do?
The service is, it's word of mouth is the biggest way the service is spread. So you can make an application form to us, and then we have a waiting list. And what we're doing now is we're sort of running the service for people over a limited period of time. And then we have what's called our return to service list. So people can come back to that. Another strand of what we do in the unit is a training program for qualified horse riding instructors to learn how to bring this type of program into their business or start up a new business doing it. I'm also trained as a trainer in the horseboy method. And I'm involved in training horseboy coaches as well, because we see a massive need for this service.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And we are also in Dublin, which is brilliant. It's a massive part of our positive because we see children that would never experience a service like this. But there is a need for these type of services nationally.
And it's a really fantastic thing to be able to share that knowledge and to be able to train people up because, as you said, there's a national need. Is this something that happens across Ireland much or no?
There is. There's a lot of centres doing this in Ireland now. There's a lot of people doing a lot of great work individually as well. And I'm also involved in a group that is trying to set up a sort of national group of people doing this so that some of us, like us larger centres and larger charities, can support the smaller individual practitioners and get word out nationally for this.
So when it comes to equine assisted activities, I would assume that's not just a standard horse that you take in. Surely they're highly trained, intelligent creatures. What is it that you look for in a horse when you're taking one in for the stables?
The biggest thing I look for in a horse is one, actually, conformation. The shape of the horse is quite important. Because we are riding them bareback.
Yeah.
So you want one that's quite comfortable to sit on. Yeah. So you don't want one that has a very high, what's called their withers, which is kind of like the base of their neck.
Okay.
But the other thing is the big thing I look for is a horse that wants to interact with people.
Interesting. Yeah.
That's really important. Because not every horse does, just like people, just like dogs. So it's a horse that is interested in people. The rest of it, then we can do the training for them. We can train them to be, bomb-proof and put them in all the situations that they might see so that they'll have consistent behaviour. We can work on their movement as well. It's really important that the horses have really good quality movement and they move in a very nice way, because you want to get that rhythmical movement into the rider. So we do a lot of work with our horses based around classical dressage, which makes them work very nicely. We do a lot of work with our horses, training them from the ground so that when they are in the service, they know to look to the person on the ground.
Okay.
And the instructor that's with them is the one who is telling them what to do. They're not looking to their rider, which would be more of a traditional way for a horse to look, is to their rider. So they are very well trained at their job and they enjoy it.
How long would it take to train a horse?
It depends on the horse.
Okay.
We tend to, a lot of the horses we get in, I like to have known their history as well.
Yes.
So that we have a good idea of what their experiences have been in their past. And we generally would have a horse in for 2 or 3 months before we would do anything with them, with clients. Maybe we'd bring them along in sessions, but with staff.
Yes,
just to
get used to the environment, yeah.
And then we start to do that. The training of the horses is consistent all the time. So we work them consistently in hand and through different methods. I kind of say to people it's like their yoga sessions, keeping them really strong and supple all the time to do their job. So you need to make sure that the horses are comfortable and feel really good in themselves, because if the horse feels comfortable and really good and strong and able to do its job, it's going to do its job effectively.
And it will transmit that as well. I think that when someone is on the back of a horse, you can really feel, I mean, maybe it's too far to say the emotions, but you can definitely have a connection with the animal. And if it is tense or it's flighty, you'll absolutely feel it yourself. So I imagine it's very important that they're calm.
Absolutely. And that's interesting that you said the word tense as well and stuff. That's another part of the training, is that, again, as I said earlier there, that the horses look to the instructors and they know that even if the person on top is very, very tense, that doesn't matter because they're in a safe environment.
Yes, so they get that feedback.
Yeah, and so then they're more able to transmit their relaxation to the rider.
That's fascinating. It's really a complex dynamic, but in a very good way.
Yeah, no, the horses are really, really special. And it isn't for every horse, this job, but they have to genuinely like people and children. And I mean, a couple of our horses, we would genuinely say they like children an awful lot more than adults.
That's lovely, isn't it? They're really cut out for the job. How many do you have at the moment?
We have 8 at the moment.
And that must be a lot of upkeep as well. So you must have plenty of staff and volunteers to keep things rolling.
We do, and particularly because of our location in the city centre, that does make looking after a horse a little bit more labour intense. So because we don't have as much space, and then it's more difficult to get deliveries in and dispose of our muck.
Yes, I can imagine. Where does that go? A practical question.
We're actually transferring now to a skip system.
Okay.
Company that's what they specialise in is skip removal. And then sometimes it goes to various community gardens all around the north inner city. But yeah, so we have 5 staff, 3 full-time, 2 part-time.
Okay. And I've seen a couple of volunteers around as well, a lot of younger ladies, possibly TYs.
Yeah, volunteers are a massive part of our service because otherwise the service would just become too expensive.
Yeah.
So we have a great connection with a lot of schools in the local area that come as part of their transition year program. We have students from DCU, UCD, Trinity who come as part of maybe a social care degree.
That's amazing.
Or a therapy degree. And then we have a lot of adult volunteers who live in the local area, maybe retirees and stuff. And some of them are long-term volunteers, and it's great that they're considered to be as part as much of the team as the staff.
That's fantastic. I think sometimes it's a measure of a service as well if you have people who volunteer and give their time and they find that it is so nice that they do want to stay.
Yeah.
So things must be going well. Yeah. So in a couple of weeks' time, the Jack de Bromhead National Equine Centre will be opening here in Child Vision. Could you tell me a little bit about the de Bromhead family's work in this area and how it is that the centre came to be?
So the centre has come through a chap called Chris Jones, who is a family friend of the de Bromheads, and him and some other family friends and decided to fundraise together for the Capital Fund for the arena to make a legacy for Jack. And so what the aim is this will become a memory of Jack and a long-lasting relationship between the de Bromhead family and Child Vision in an area that has his spirit, that they said, he was kind, he was funny, and they want to be connected to something that will bring so much joy to other children. It's something very beautiful that's come out of something very tragic.
Absolutely. And I'm sure it's going to positively affect many lives. It'll be something that contributes to the well-being of many children in the years to come. And that is such a gift.
Yeah.
It's really amazing. What impact is this new arena going to have on the lives of the people who are here and on the services that we can offer?
To have a purpose-built arena and stables as well, it's not just an indoor arena, it's actually new stables, is going to have a huge impact. The stables are designed specifically for our service. They are visually impairment and disability friendly, which is going to have a huge impact on access for people into the unit.
I hadn't thought of that. That must be a really fascinating thing to design.
Yes, and from the horses' point as well, they're designed in a way to do best practice for keeping horses in stables, which will be wonderful because the stables we have at the moment are very beautiful, very old buildings, beautiful old buildings, but from a visual impairment point of view, they're not great.
No, they're not BI friendly, unfortunately.
And then with regards to having an indoor arena, it means a lot of children we see, particularly children from child vision, would have disabilities that make them immunocompromised. So if the weather is bad, we simply can't run the service for those children. And as you know, it rains a lot. It is in the winter. So there is quite a few days where we don't run the service. Whereas now we have the indoor, that gets rid of that problem. The other thing as well is we hope to run the service in the evenings more and make this a community space.
Oh, wow.
In the evening. So we see a few community groups, which are community groups of families who have children with neurodiversity. And I'm hoping that this space will be a really nice space for them to maybe come to once a month and just let their kids go. Play with the ponies, run around the arena, which is essentially a ginormous sandpit, and relax. The doors are shut. They can't go anywhere, but they still feel like they're outside.
Which is amazing, and it's so important. And I think sometimes people take it for granted. Not all children have the space to be able to do that.
No.
Particularly neurodivergent children might not have the necessary supports for that. So that will be a really amazing asset to the community.
Yeah, and then also we hope to run more services that are more based around what I was equine assisted learning, which is sort of for children who maybe aren't in sports, aren't into that sort of really structured group settings, that they can just come and hang out and just enjoy being with the ponies.
Absolutely. That's an amazing service. And in terms of costs, this is a large operation, as you were mentioning. There's an interest in expanding the hours. How is it that this could all come together?
So we rely on fundraising. We don't receive any funding from any government source. So the service is an expensive service to run because there is high staff level. The horses are expensive to look after. Running the unit is expensive. We do charge for the service, but the charges don't cover the cost of the service. We hope as the years come on that maybe this will become a more funded section of the equine industry as more and more people do it and as more and more research comes out.
Yeah, there is the demand.
But at the moment we do rely on fundraising to make up the shortfalls.
That's understandable. And at the same time, you wouldn't want to be charging more for the services that you provide. I mean, therapeutic facilities and services shouldn't be inaccessible. You know, the point is that they are accessible and they're available to the people who need them. So if you were to charge to cover your costs, it wouldn't be sustainable for the people who are accessing the service. So I think there's a balance to strike there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So the service is obviously very subsidised for the children within child vision. And then for our external services, it is a slightly higher charge, but it is still subsidised. We are more and more in a roundabout way, it's being funded from other things. So a lot of our school groups who come are now funded through TUSLA and other school completion programs and things like that. But it would be great if going forward there was more funding for this section of the industry. But at the moment we rely on fundraising.
Yeah, it's incredibly important. And if anybody is listening to this and they say, wow, what a fascinating area, there's so much to be done. How is it that I can get involved? What is it that we would let them know?
We, in the Equine unit, we are really open for anybody who wants to come visit us. We're very open.
That's great, as it should be.
We love telling people about what we do. We love introducing people to the horses. So if anybody's interested in what we do, if they're interested in volunteering or fundraising for us, just get in contact with Child Vision and we can arrange either a visit or a chat on the phone about anything we can do.
Amazing. So everybody is welcome.
Everybody's welcome.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today, Lucy.
You're welcome.